how did I get involved with real estate? I get that question a lot. A lot of people say, man, how did you get started? I want to get started. For those of you that, don't know, obviously I went to LSU, graduated with a degree in business, started working a little bit, went back and got my MBA, and that kind of launched my, my corporate career in, as we call it, the Fortune 500 world. Did that for about 9 years. Experienced a lot of economic turbulence, through unfortunately losing, 2 consecutive jobs. And, in my darkest moment, I began to ask myself, what are some things that I can do to, better, help me weather, the storm of, a job loss or a layoff. And, it pointed me to real estate. And I became a real estate agent and started selling real estate for a living. And I realized quickly that, I didn't really like that much. So I met some people who was involved with building houses, and that was my first introduction really into real estate investing. I started building what we call spec houses, brand new houses. They call them spec because it's a speculative house. It doesn't have somebody that's tied to it, so you build it and then you advertise it and sell it, right? And once I started doing that, then I learned about the power of having rental properties, because that's where the residual income come in at, right? So at that point I recruited a partner. Me and her partnered up together and we formed a company called C&M Properties and Development, that's mainly a holdings company that owns rental property. And that was pretty much history for me when I started collecting rent checks and I saw the power of being able to make money without having to do any physical labor. I knew that was my destiny, right? So, how do you get involved with real estate? I always tell people, real estate is very simple. The money is made, when we make it difficult and we sell the information and we make it sound really high level, but it's very simple. It's one of the oldest principles in the world. You buy low, get a great bargain, and you rent high. And that's basically what rental property is. It's a buy low, get a good deal, and you rent for a profit. It's that simple. But I think, what does it take? It's a lot comes with, the real estate business as it relates to rental property. Obviously, you have to, deal with your tenants. You're gonna have maintenance issues. So it's a very relationship-based business. How well do you relate well to others? How business savvy, are you with keeping up with your books? So you have to, it's a business just like McDonald's. You have to, have your checks and balances in place. There's always going to be turbulence involved with any business you start, but if you can weather the storm and stick with it long enough, you're going to reap the fruits of, your labor. Like anything, I ask my students, one of the first questions I ask anybody is, are you willing to put in the work, that it's going to take to be successful? Before I bought, the first rental property, I probably looked at, 50 to 60 properties, before I found that one property. And I think that's what, all of the popular shows now when they talk about flipping houses and finding bargains, one of the things that they never talk about is the amount of properties that you have to look at before you find, that one great deal. So it's not a get rich quick scheme. You're not gonna get in it and make a gazillion amount of money wholesaling or, flipping houses like anything. You have to, take the money that you have and you have to park it in a safe investment that's gonna put money in your pocket every month. We call that making money while you sleep, right? So, you have to be mindful of that, that, real estate it's a very boring business. Nothing about it is sexy, nothing about it is fancy. It's you buy it and you hold it, and you build value and you build your wealth. And at the end of the day, at some point you'd be able to, pull your pants down and tell your employer, hey, kiss my ass, I'm gone. I'm on my own, at this point. And I think, everybody, um, obviously everybody was put here to make an impact on the universe in, some way, shape, or form. But I always tell people that, at the end of the day, everybody should be able to support themselves. Regardless if you have a job or not, you have to be able to build your skill, your uniqueness, to be able to support your family. To be able to support the people around you. Nobody main source of income should come from, a 9 to 5. When you think about it, there's land out there, that people have. What can you do with the land? You can farm the land. There's land out there, what can we do with it? We can build houses. There's all sorts of things you can do, to build residual income. But I'm a firm believer that every person should have another source of income, to be able to weather whatever storm. For me, I lost a job. I lost a job where I was making 6 figures. Who's going to go back to that and not have something to fall back on? So you really have to think about that. There's millions of people out here like me. Brothers out here, sisters out here losing jobs every day. But what do? Do you lose that job and then immediately jump on LinkedIn and try to find the next job? You're going back to the same abuse that you just came from. So how about when you lose the first job, you develop and hone your skills to be able to build your business, and then you go back to a job, but you have something on the side that you can fall back on. That's a little bit smarter than losing that job and then just jumping right back into the workforce. Because what's going to happen over time, the same thing could happen to you again. And if you're a little bit older, if you have a little bit more, few more expenses, maybe a few more kids, maybe a bigger house, you won't be able to, live out your fantasies and your passion, like somebody who may have, decided that, hey, look, I don't want to do this anymore without having something to fall back on, so I'm going to build, and not go into so much personal debt that will prevent you from being able to build what you're trying to do.